Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy and this is the lecture for the month of November 2011. Welcome to the site and let's just jump right in. This is part 2 of the Snappy dialogue shot walkthrough. This is the lecture in which I'm going to finish up the dialogue shot. I have focused on the first line of the main character, and last we left off, I was going to spline him out and take it through to all the way through blocking plus, and then we're going to add the polish. Now, this is not only just a walkthrough of a dialogue shot and those things that you're supposed to be looking out for, like the anchors, and for those workflow polish tips that you need, but this is also a chance for us to take a look at what kind of issues we need to be aware of if you're going to be doing snappy animation. Now in the polish phase, that is where your snappy animation starts falling apart. Reason is because by definition, the act of polishing anything is going to buff things down. It's going to rub the the hard edges until they're no longer standing out, right? So that's how we have to plan for that. When we're making our workflows, the choice has to be: do I want to overdo everything so that I can be sure that my strong choices are going to survive into the end of the shot, or is it necessary for me to add a part of my workflow when I reassess those choices and I compare those poses that I'm getting and I compare the timing that I'm getting to what I originally set out to create? I am pretty much evenly divided between those two methods. I do heavily propose and support the idea of making things basically as strong as possible, exaggerating as much as possible, so that you are always toning down your ideas to make it fit with your character choice and your shot by the end of the shot. But the situation arises a lot where you have to do a lot of work and you might get a little bit off track, and then it's time to be able to know how to look at your shot and change the things that need to be changed to get back to those original choices. So the first thing we're always going to do is, when we get out our animation, we always make a list of notes. Always, always, always. Why do we do that? I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The reason we make a list of notes is because if you work on a shot for too long, then you kind of lose that eye, that crisp animation eye that you have as you're working. Now you need that eye to pick out the things that are necessary to change. So rather than work until our eye is mush and we can no longer see the problems of our shot, we make a list at the beginning. So we spend our eye at the beginning, and then we spend the rest of the time doing the notes that person who had the fresh eyes can pick out, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a list of notes, and then we have a list of notes that we can move forward with, okay? So if you've never done this before, this is a very simple, lo-fi way of note-proofing your work. I have a play blast right here, okay? And as you can see, or as you will see in just 1 second when I hit play, I've been spending some time splining this and adding some breakdowns and refining the timing just a little bit, and then we're going to finish up the shot in this lecture right now. So let's watch it a few times through.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, You think it's gonna scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think it's gonna scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think it's gonna scare me? It ain't.
Okay. So there's already a few notes. I've already started a little note sheet right here. I like to put the frame number in brackets and then just the note. And it's simple. You just write down your notes, and when you get a new one, you just insert it in there. I do like to try to keep them in frame order. So I'm just going to rearrange these just a little bit before we go through them. I'll describe the notes that I've already written down for this shot, and then we'll find a couple more when we watch it. Okay. So in the first lecture, in the first part of this two-part series, we listened to the dialogue, and we were listening really closely for the anchors. Most of the anchors are really, really small in this line, but I do want to just point them out one more time. If you listen very closely, and you should download the 11-second club audio. I think this was last year, September or October. But if you download this audio, listen very closely for yourself so that you can learn how to identify these anchors. But there is a slight breath in the beginning that is kind of blocked in here very roughly. And then I did hear a few in the pronunciation of the line that I wanted to get in as well. But let's listen first for that breath in the beginning. Right there, very simple. It starts basically with that breath coming in. Okay, and then on, we'll move forward.
You think posing?
There's a little bit of a closed mouth, or on the ing, the ing sound of posing. It's like a closed throat voice break. You know, like if you're a teenager going through puberty, your voice breaks like hi, like that. There's a tiny, just a fraction of a voice break, but it's a closed throat voice break. So it's posing, but that was like 10 times bigger than it was. But listen for it.
You think posing?
You hear that?
You think posing? You think posing?
Okay. Now, the way I want to get that in there is just the smallest amount of acknowledgement in the face and maybe the head, neck, and shoulders, but just a little bit of like a hitch on that. We can save that for later, but just so that I don't forget that, let me put anchor, or let's find the frame.
You think posing?
Okay, so it's frame 30. Let me just put it in here. Okay. Anchor on ing. Okay.
Posing as the devil, you think it's going to scare me?
And he does it a little bit on scare as well. There's like a scare. I mean, that was 1,000 times bigger than it actually is on the line, but listen closely.
You think it's going to scare me? Going to scare me?
Okay. I'm thinking that maybe just a little bit in the neck and shoulders on that one. Scare. Just a little pop on those neck and shoulders will do it.
It's going to scare me.
Okay, so it's about.
I think it's going to scare me.
It's about 92. So I'm going to put this note in. Anchor on scare. And you'll notice, well, maybe you can't because the text is kind of small. I can make it bigger though. Okay. I like to capitalize the anchor, the letters. So let me just put POS, posing, and then anchor on scare, that SC. Okay. You'll also notice, I know I mentioned this before, but this is all very good, just to repeat and to just keep on repeating in your head and get through. This shot is full body. I'm doing a full body acting shot. I'm not doing any camera trickery. I'm not trying to hide the body. I'm not trying to get away with less animation by having the character seated. I'm not doing anything like having the character just like hidden behind an object, like leaning on a table or behind a bar or seated, like I said. This is 100% in your face, full body acting, full body posing, okay? And that's important. That's very important. Why do I make this decision? Because I know that if I'm going to put this on my demo reel, I want to show people that they can hire me to do full body acting shots, that I can make pose choices that are strong, head to toe on my character, okay? So I didn't, and this is a tip for you, everyone who does the 11-second club. I didn't like spend half hour or like half a day thinking of like how am I going to cleverly take this line and make this like a super like clever delivery of the line. That's good and all, but if I see one more single person delivering a line, an animated character delivering a line in a mirror as two people, like multiple personalities, I think I'm going to scream. All right, it's a way overused choice, and the amount of animation practice you actually get in by doing that is way less than if you just choose strong pose choices, a strong character, just a character that's not made like crazy or like 1 in a million just for the sake of doing that. But if you have a strong character that makes some strong poses and is posing head to toe, you'll get the most practice and you'll get the most mileage out of this shot for your demo reel. Okay? So I just want to repeat that. We're not here to especially if you're not working yet. I mean, if you're making short films and you're making your own animated pieces and sending them out and trying to make a name for yourself, yeah, definitely go wild every single time. But if you're trying to be hired as an animator, your job as an animator is going to be to take shots and to stay within the realm of that character's possible performance choices and deliver it most of the time head to toe, not seated, not hiding behind a table, not a close-up shot of just the shoulders and neck and head. Okay, so at any rate, just wanted to repeat that's what we're going for here, trying to practice what I preach here with that. Okay, so let's watch a few more times, see if we can pick anything out. I'll go through what I've already picked out. On frame 12, the left hand is kind of just floating up there, and then it pops on frame 12. Smoother into the Y think. I mean the Y arc on his body when he says "you think."
You think posing.
So I guess I'm not happy with the arc on his body, how it kind of like comes down and goes straight up. It's almost like a very cornered arc on his body. Anchor and posing on 30, we already picked that out. Screen left hand is on the right track to have a snappy in to the sword hold. Okay, so that's frame 48. So if you look at the screen left hand, I said it's on the right track. So basically, as it's rising right here, I have it all of a sudden come down to meet the sword coming into it. So that actually kind of makes it feel a little bit snappier. So I'm going to try to amp that up because I said it's on the right track. Let's see if we can amp it up a little bit more and make this shot even snappier. Okay. 51, add some head nod on devil.
Is the devil? Is the devil?
There's a little bit of it. If you just like watch his nose, you see that it does come up a little bit at the end of that, but I think a little bit of head nod. And these are experimentations. These are this is part of my workflow is to put things in and try them out. These are not necessarily things that are going to survive to the end of the shot. Okay, but if you animate them and you really give them your all, then they will perform for you and you'll be able to triage your choice after it's in there. But nobody, I don't care who they are, they're lying to you if they tell you that their list of notes that they make is exactly what is supposed to be in the shot, and they don't have to do anything else, and they don't have to do any experimenting or anything like that. All right, they're just flat out lying. Okay, 92, anchor on scare. We already got that. 97, try keeping the sword down on me. So I have him wagging the sword. That was a choice really early on that I definitely wanted in this shot, which is like, you know, wagging the sword at the person he's talking to. I love that choice. But I'm not too sure if it's playing the strongest right now. So I said, you think it's going to scare me? Right now, he brings it up at the end of that, scare me, and it kind of comes up and like hangs there. I'm going to try to drop it. I'll just try a version where it drops and just see if I like it better. All right?
You think it's going to scare me?
You see that? Right here it goes me up like that. Let's try, I think it's going to scare me. And maybe he'll have to push forward to kind of come through where the sword is. I don't know. And that's kind of the fun. Once you get to a certain point in your animation career, when your workflow, it doesn't even really need to be your career. If your workflow is rock solid enough, then you find yourself sitting, looking at your own animation and saying, this is in a place where I can kind of push it, you know, just push it over here. That's okay, let me just push it over here. That's all right. Push it back. Ooh, I'm liking what's happening. Push it more, push it more, push it more. Oh, this is really good. And I'm going to take a little bit of what I had over there, and then this is perfect. It stops becoming so stressful that you have this shot in front of you. Once you really fully buckle down and commit to workflow, because it will save you every single time. But experimentation is a big part of my workflow. More pop on frame 108 in the Y arc on the laugh. Let's see here.
You're gonna scare me.
Okay, so he is ducking down and coming up, but his head is so big that rotation is kind of taking over everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to caveat this note a little bit with head taking over. All right, so that rotation in the head is really overdoing it's overtaking the amount of Y. Remember from our lip sync lecture that you always want to have like the mouth open long before any open mouth shape. So if you say have a happy birthday, you say have a, and then your mouth is open for a long time and you're like a happy birthday, right? So it doesn't open. Same thing with laughing. We don't like go ha 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 ha. We open our mouth and just move our body. Ha 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 ha. You actually don't even have to move your mouth, right? So that's what I mean by the head is kind of taking over. We're not really getting as much of the full body laugh as I'd like. So 120, dig deeper on it ain't. Okay, so he's anticipating a little bit downwards right here, and then I want him to pop up a little bit more on it ain't. So as you can see, look how much, not really much pop going on. 126, sword too slow, fast in on the arc. Okay, so he brings his sword in, and it's a little late to the party. I do think, looking at it now, that it's like 1 or 2 frames late, but it also has an arc that's very even. Okay. Snappy eyebrows on posing and devil.
As the devil.
Let's see here.
You think posing as the devil?
Okay. So we're talking about snappy animation here, and I do know that as I'm going through these notes and as I'm applying them to the animation, I am going to be thinking about keeping that snappiness up and comparing what I have in front of me right now to all of my choices that I made in the beginning. The best way to do that is to just take one note at a time and just kind of like scrub in and out of the note that you're looking at and see if the timing is supporting or fighting the choice that you just made, to hit that note. What you'll normally find is that every single thing that you do kind of sticks out and needs a little bit more support from the timing around it. So if I want to dig deeper on the line it ain't.
You think posing as the devil, you think it's going to scare me? It ain't.
Okay, so as he ducks down here, I'll probably find that if I bring him down further, that I'm going to need to do just a little bit of retiming on the body, just like probably like 4 frames before and after that action, so that that snappy choice kind of comes back to life. Okay? And it might not necessarily mean making the timing tighter. It actually might mean opening up the timing just a little bit. Remember, if you do a small action, or if you cover a small distance, you can cover that really quickly. And that has sort of the same effect as a big action, you know, taking almost as long. What I'm saying is, like, time doesn't necessarily scale linearly with the broadness of an action when you're talking about snappy animation. You might have a small action that's kind of quick, and a big action that is not the same speed, but definitely not linearly. You know, if it's twice as big, it's not twice as long. So we're going to have to look closely, case by case basis, with this with the animation. Okay. Let's see here. A little problem on 122. He's losing his iris. Okay. Okay. And let's watch one more time just to pick out any last stragglers.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't.
Okay. One last thing that I'm planning on doing, so let me just put this as a major note after all this stuff. So snappy eyebrows on posing and devil. And then one thing is I want to remember in collar and beret paths to contrast the size and speed of the clothing with the snappiness of the body. All right, and so that note is just a little reminder to me to know that I can go really overboard with the snappiness of his body, and it will just look beautiful if, like, his collar and his beret, if he does a quick motion, that the beret or the collar, first off, has just like a nice, kind of, really loose, overlappy kind of feeling. And then he zips over here, and then the beret, kind of, settles. So all these motions, it's really nice if you can get a character that you have to animate snappy, if that's been your charge, you've been tasked with that. It's really nice if you can pick out the elements of the character that you can juxtapose and contrast the snappiness with a little bit more kind of like by the book, straight up, nice, flowy, overlappy, flowing animation. And Pierre is very easy. Pierre has his collar and he has his beret, so we do have that at our disposal, so that's really nice. So as I'm pushing this on my final push to make this super snappy, I'm going to be looking at the beret and at his collar to make those choices much stronger. Okay, so let's dive right into it. So the first note is left hand pop. Okay. One thing I like to do as well is if I'm working on the notes in chronological order, this is okay to do on this shot because it's very simple. It's one character and it's relatively short, 150 frames. So you can do this, but even if I do have my notes organized by importance, then I like to do this. I like to separate the one that I'm working on, right? So then, when I'm done with this one, I separate like this. So I know where I am, because I don't like to delete any. I guess you could note it like this if you're done with it, like an asterisk or something like that. But let me start on this one, frame 12, left hand pop. All right, so this is a little bit more of a bigger issue because the beginning of this whole animation is very linear, very even. It does not look like a breath. So let's turn it into a breath. Like I've said before, a breath is definitely a full body action. And you need your open mouth shape way before the breath actually starts happening. So actually, let's just get his mouth open, and I'm not sure why he's going. he's going happy, but probably it's because it's a leftover artifact from the moment when I went from step to spline. I'm just going to grab all these facial controls and key them on both of these frames. Okay, so the mouth looks good now. It's starting open, but this lean forward going in, just not working for me. So let me fix this. Okay, so we're getting kind of a counter pose, which is what I want. I want the chest to change pose. All right. But I also want him to raise up. Here we go. Okay, and probably his head is not going to be so FK, and by so FK I mean it's probably not going to be tilting as much as his, it's probably not going to be such a slave to that body movement. And so I do this a lot. I just hit period and comma just to check my poses back and forth, back and forth. And I kind of want to make sure that my poses are almost the same, so that whatever I get kind of feels a little bit more like a moving hold. Okay, that looks good. Let's watch that. There we go. Okay, so the note was left hand pop, but of course what we had to do first was we had to figure out what this breath was going to look like before we could decide what to do with the hand. All right. Okay. My instinct right here is actually to make this a little bit less of a fist. Delete that key, drag that one backward and set key, just so that there's only a little bit of movement on those fingers. My instinct here is to just make this arm just a little bit lower and just to be a little bit just nicer with his silhouette. If we watch this animation like this without any color, you'll notice that I try really hard to really keep the silhouette super dynamic. So there's really no place where it's super stacked up. Even if I do lose a little bit of the the limbs in foreshortening or hidden behind some geometry, I definitely try to keep everything pretty strong. So we have a nice curve through here, juxtaposed against the straight of that planted leg. So I was paying very close attention to the silhouette when I animated this, and I think I just want to go a little bit by the book and just kind of make this arm work with the pose a little bit more, and be happy. Just be happier. Okay. All right. So on the breath, this is you'll see me do this 1,000 times. On the breath, see how like his hand goes up? It goes up way too much. I'll just go forward a couple frames, middle mouse drag, set key, and then see what I get. Okay. It definitely doesn't need this key. I'm going to be doing a lot of deleting as well. You'll see that. Okay.
Think posing. Think posing. Think posing. Think posing. And I'm just noticing a little bit of like IK-ness on this hand as well. So I'm just going to actually going to
start it a little bit forward, but a little bit lower, so it rises with the body as well. There we go.
You think posing. You think posing.
Okay.
You think posing. You think posing. You think posing. You think posing.
Okay. Just really quickly, I do like to track my my arcs on my elbows as I'm going, so that stuff doesn't ever get out of control. I do like a nice, slow, even transition of elbows from, you know, from R to L shaped. All right, so you see this shape right here. This is a lowercase r, and then it goes to an L. Well, this L is kind of turned, but you can imagine what I'm talking about. So I do like a nice slow transition. This one does have a pretty slow one, but then it goes kind of back to R right here. I'm not sure if that's the strongest choice. So I'm just going to make the little change to just keep it a little bit south of that bend. Looks like I have to copy a few keys. Okay.
You think posing as posing.
Okay. I do like that better, but now it definitely looks like this is taking a very IK kind of floaty path through here. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit right now. Part of the problem is that this is rotating a little too quickly through here. This is still very straight. Just working out the arcs here. It drops so fast right here. And not really so fast, I mean, I know it's very slow, but this is a very tricky arc to work out right now. And I don't like how the hand is kind of IKing through this. I know I use that term a lot, IKing through, but I use it to describe a lot of things. Sometimes what it is the rotations on the hand kind of look like they are kind of working themselves out through world space. Sometimes what it means is that the position is looking like the body is moving around a planted hand in the middle, in mid-air. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete the rotation key right here. And I think that'll smooth things out a little bit more. Yeah.
Posing as the devil.
Yeah, that looks better.
Think posing as the devil.
Okay.
Think posing. Think posing. Think posing as the devil. Think posing as. Think posing.
All right, so I'm happy with that hand in those that first second now. All right, so that's addressed. Smoother into, you think, pop out of sing. Okay, so okay, so this is basically a snappiness note. So on the po of posing, it's really our first big chance to make the animation really snappy. So let's watch it just a couple times.
Think posing. Think posing.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the anticipation on his body just go a little bit longer. Okay. So actually I'm going to grab all the keys in his spine, his root, his neck, and his head. And as you can see, they're all on the same frame. And some of them actually have flat tangents on them. It's probably why it feels like it's coming out of a slow out, because it is. And let's see if we can make this a little bit smoother into the anticipation and then pop out on the po of posing.
You think posing?
All right. All right, so what I'm noticing is on frame 13 right here and frame 18, we kind of have two very different dynamics in the spine. So what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. You know, this is how you do it. This is the workflow. I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm just going to save it. I'm going to set a key on 10, set a key on 18. I'm going to delete 13. And see what happened in the spine right there? So now I know, I mean, just by definition, because I deleted a key in between two other keyframes, I know I have a smoother transition between. It's not necessarily what I want, though. So because I deleted it, I know I have, Maya is stepping in and saying, oh, okay, well, you want this smooth, here you go. But now I have to fix it. So let's just watch what we get when I deleted that key.
I think posing.
Okay, I'm going to just have him, let's see here. I'm just going to have him, you know, we're just going to do a tiny itty bitty bit of overlap just on these two channels. And we're going to just bring it back up just a hair. All right, and the reason we just did that was so that it feels like we have just a little bit of slow out, but it's the kind of slow out that we want. It's not just we forgot to change our tangents from flat to spline. It's we actually made this little breakdown to adjust that timing. Let's check this out.
You think posing?
Yeah, that's better.
You think posing?
Okay. Now the head plays a very interesting role in snappy animation. You can pretty much bang the drum to the rhythm of the words and get away with, you know, basically, you know, there's no argument that it does make it a little bit more staccato and snappy when you do that. You got to be careful though. I kind of erred on the side of conservative on doing that, except where in except in the laugh, the head kind of totally took over. So I'm gonna actually amp the head up a little bit on this and see what we're going to get. Now the way I'm going to do that is I'm not going to have the head go further back because I like the range that it has. I'm actually going to start it by having it anticipate a little bit further forward. So it covers more distance, but I'm adjusting the head instead of the tail of this action. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm just bringing this down before he says posing. Okay, and the head leads the body, eyes lead the head. So I'm actually going to move this one frame and then test it.
You think posing? You think posing?
Yeah, I like one frame. Let's just look at 2 frames and see what happens.
You think posing?
Yeah, see that it's totally off now. It's interesting once you get to the point in your animation where you're making 1 frame changes and like 1 frame looks good and 2 frames look terrible. You know you're in a place where your workflow is in charge, which is great. And you should all be doing like like I just did. Just a little experiment. Just grabbed it, moved it another frame. Said, don't look good. Put it back. No big deal. No big deal. I would normally do that with buffer frames, but it's just so simple when there's so few keys, like there are right now in the timeline. It's possible. Okay.
Think posing.
Let's actually have his neck a little bit more involved. make his neck just one frame later. Let's try that.
You think posing has think posing.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's move on. Smoother. Why do you think pop out of sing, pose sing? Okay. So this note it really refers to the full body. Okay. And so what I'm saying when I say pop out of sing is that I'm not happy how I've lost the snappiness on the end of this word, posing. So let's see what we get.
Posing.
Okay. So it kind of takes him a while to get into that full body pose. I do like how the arms are moving, the legs are moving, so I'm going to do the same thing I did. I'm just going to select the spine controls and his main cog and just see what kind of keys we have on here. If you look at the graph editor, let me bring it over here. I've been looking on the other monitor and I know you can't see it. If you look at the graph editor, you can see that there's a very, very smooth, just in this section, some very smooth transitions. We got a couple flat keys right here, and this looks like a full body pose, and this looks like a full body pose. These are probably artifacts left over from when I went from step to spline, because I didn't want to lose that hold, so I turned it into a copied pair before I splined it. Okay. So we know that where that came from, but when we're looking at this section right here, it looks like there are a lot of kind of like lazy transitions into that. I might try a few different methods of getting this a little bit more snappy. The first one I might try is, I don't need my shelf right now, or my toolbox. Just get a little bit more screen real estate. Okay. First thing I might try is actually having all of this kind of zip into the ing pose a little bit quicker. All right. So it looks like he's pretty steady by then. What key is this? Okay, this is the head. All right, we can flat that a little bit more. Okay. So let's see where posing. So it's like right here. So what I would do is I would actually just grab all these keys and just scale them. Let's see. That's about right. I don't know. Maybe like that. And then grab all these and move them back. So I just gave myself one extra, or I took out one frame, but I also scaled everything. And this is just an experiment. I don't know what this is going to look like. How would I know? I'm just trying to retime it logically.
Posing.
Ooh, that's better.
Posing as the devil. Posing as the posing.
Okay. Well, it did screw up the moving hold a little bit, but the speed is much better.
Posing.
So what I might do is these hands need to calm way down. Just middle mouse dragging and copying. And then if you look, I just middle mouse drag copied this one. If you spline this one, there should be a little bit of overshoot that you get. Okay, let's do the same to this hand. This one's pretty still. It could be a little bit more still. And then we'll just spline this one. So a little bit of overshoot.
Posing.
Okay. head and neck need to be calmed down just a little bit more.
As the posing as the devil, posing as the devil, posing as the devil, posing as.
See that? Just like 2-3 frames pushed, and it's already so much better. Already so much better. Okay. Okay. So I'm very happy with the timing of that now. Let's move on. Anchor on ing of posing. Oh yeah. So that was the kind of like the voice crack.
Posing.
So let's just put a little bit of a hitch on that head and see what happens.
Posing as.
All right. Up is not working. Let's try it to the side.
Posing as posing as posing posing posing. Posing as posing as.
Okay, that's not working either. Let's just undo that. I wonder if we're going to have to go a little bit smaller. I wonder if we're going to have to go into the face instead.
Posing.
All right, let's come back to that note because I do want to do it right, but right now it doesn't look like anything is reading because it's such a big full body action. 48, screen left hand is on the right track to have a snappy. Oh yeah, okay. So let's just amp this up a little bit. It looks like it's coming up and then it's kind of like flatting out and then getting hit. So let's just have it come up a little bit more and start coming down just a little bit higher, and as it comes down
as the devil as the devil as the
a little bit lower. Just I was just watching, just tracking this arc into that sword. Boom.
the devil
Yeah, that's nice and snappy.
as the devil.
Yeah, that's nice. That was a quick note. Okay. Add some head nod on devil. Oh, let's try this one. I think we're gonna be able to get this one in, definitely.
The devil. The devil.
Ooh, that was a really quick one too. I really like how it comes down. It could definitely overshoot just a little bit more though.
Devil. 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 Devil.
And let's just reduce this moving whole by middle mouse dragging, hitting set key. Now it's a little bit closer to that keyframe.
Devil.
Yeah, that's nice.
Devil.
Nice. Flying through these now. Anchor on scare. Let's see here.
You think it's gonna scare me?
Okay. Let's I said we could try one with the shoulders. Let's give that a shot, see what happens. Where are my shoulder controls? They're kind of hidden. Ooh, and they don't do much. let's see here. What can I use? Oops, not paint select. Okay. All right. So what's happening? It's interesting. Looks like I had 2 keyframes, and when I went to spline, really, I mean, it held up, and I haven't done anything really on the spine between frames 77 and 98. So this whole section is very, just watch the spine in this section, is very static.
You think it's going to scare me? You think it's going to scare me?
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this upper control to, that's the neck. And what's this? Oh, it's the collar. Cool. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this upper control to kind of simulate the shoulders. Although, let me give the shoulders one more chance. Can I get what I need from you? I haven't looked at them. They don't move, and they very static. But let's give them a shot. Why not? Oops. Okay. So big shrug of the shoulder. I'm going straight forward right now. So you see what I did? Now I might have to counter animate the neck and the head against the rotation that I just put into this top controller right here. Oops. Oops, I used the wrong one. Okay, my bad. All right, this guy, here we go. Anticipate it a little bit. Shoulder shrugging. Now let's counter animate the neck against what I just did. Find the keys. Set, set, set. Now I can deselect that bottom one, and I have all the keyframe positions on the neck. So I just need to go back to the first one, set key, go to this one, counter animate, go back to, hit comma to go back, and make sure that I'm actually getting the same kind of position. All right, so see how the shoulder now really goes up into the collar?
You think it's going to scare me? Scare me?
Okay. Looks like, though, I mean, honestly, I'm not sure if I have to counter animate it. It kind of looks good without it.
Scare me? Scare me? Scare me? It ain't. It's going to scare me? Scare me?
I like it. You know, I'm just going to leave it because when I counter animate it, it kind of reduces it all back down to this really tiny little shoulder. I mean, look at his shoulders. They're so tiny and just like baby-like. It's getting lost really quickly. So again, I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, but like, hopefully as you're watching this, you're seeing that like every single thing I'm doing is just experiment after experiment. I have a note, and the note is kind of driving like where I'm going to test things and where I'm going to play, but the note is never like, you know, so demanding and so specific that I don't feel like I can experiment around and get what I want. Okay? Try keeping the sword down on me. Oh, I've been looking forward to this one. Try keeping the sword down on me. So right now, let's save it again. Right? Okay. So scare me.
You think it's going to scare me?
Okay, so it goes me. And see how it tilts up? Let's just try a version where it doesn't tilt up. But tilts down instead. almost like he's dropping it.
Scare me.
Alright, so what I'm going to do again, I'm going to set a key on 93, set a key on 102. I'm going to delete the one on 96 and just see what would Maya give me. Alright, right there. So now I'm just going to set a key again. I'm going to kind of turn this into a little bit nicer breakdown. Let's go back one, forward one, and looks like if it's going to stay on an arc, it needs to be out here a little bit. Also, my elbow pull vector, where are you? Here you are. Yeah, it's getting way lost, and this is too much long, you know, too many frames without there being a keyframe, especially when you're doing an action like the one I'm doing where he's shaking. So I need to go in here and just make sure that the elbow is doing exactly what I want. Set one right here. I'm just going to see what happens if I bend this down a little bit and just keep it overlapping. Just add a little bit of rotation right here.
Scare me. It ain't scare me. It scare me. It's gonna scare me. Scare me.
In fact, I'll leave in a little secret. I did try a version where he actually goes, "You think it's gonna scare," and then he brought the sword, like the handle of the sword, to his chest. "You think it's gonna scare me?" And it was just not enough time, so I took it out. So you didn't even see that. But again, experimentation, and you just get some fantastic results that you never ever would have planned for. Okay. I do like this. I just do think that the way the sword is kind of falling right here, I'm just not happy with. This looks like a flat key. Can I confirm this? Yes, it is. All right, so I just want to smooth that out and see what happens. There we go. Oh, so much better.
Scare me. It ain't.
I like that.
It's gonna scare me. It ain't me.
Now let's just smooth out, see how it's coming up, but it's like kind of going flat before it comes up to here. Let's just put a breakdown. Sometimes it means that you have to put a little bit of, you know, frame by framing in. I would consider this the right time to start doing that. It's not too early yet. There we go.
It ain't.
There we go. Okay, awesome. That worked out great. More pop in Y in the laugh. The head is taking over. Okay, great. Let's just do this one. This will be a very quick one as well, because we already kind of lucked out on the first time we did this. Okay. I don't think the head would be taking over as much. I'm going to start with the body. I don't think the head would be taking over as much if the body wasn't rotating as much backwards. So let's try that. Actually, you know, it's almost as much in the spine as it is the chest. Or sorry, the head. So let's see here. Let me just see what happens when we zero these. What we get. Okay. All right, already better, but let's give ourselves a little more contrast. The way we're going to do that is we're just going to make the anticipation just a little bit lower. Remember, we can't go too high, because if we go too high, then we're going to like lose his legs, right? His legs are going to be too long. right? So we're just going to just go a little bit lower right here. And nice and high right here. And let's just keep that arm in range.
Hear me? It ain't me. It ain't me. Me.
Yeah. See, now the Y motion on the body is, I'm not sure what a better word than featured is, but it's featured more as part of the laugh than the head necessarily is. Or another way to look at it is, even though the head is moving almost as much as it was before, what I'm seeing now is that the body coming up is kind of making the head like come to the end of the motion up, and then like the head has to go somewhere. The head has to overlap, and that's what's happening to the head. That's what it feels like to me now. Okay?
It's gonna scare me. It ain't. It's gonna scare me. It ain't.
Okay. Okay, let's take a look at the next note. Okay, dig deeper on it ain't. Okay, so this is great because we just finished the more pop in the Y.
It's gonna scare me.
And now we're going to dig deeper on it ain't. So if we just look at this arc in the hips, we can definitely see why that's necessary. All right, so let's just, first of all, let's just try to go straight ahead and put this in.
It ain't. It ain't. It ain't. It ain't.
Okay. What I was just checking there is that this moving hold, there is a lot of kind of like float and settle in the main cog. I'm just wondering if it should be a little bit more static. So I'm going to save it, middle mouse drag, hit set key, see what we get.
It ain't.
No, see, that doesn't look good.
It ain't.
Maybe just a little bit less. 4-frame middle mouse drag. We'll see what that does.
It ain't. You think?
No, see, it's pretty much like the whole spine and head is working together right now. I could change it all if I wanted to, but it's not really irking me as much as the node is. There's a really bad arc on his cog right now, and I do want that to be super strong. So let's try to fix that.
It ain't.
Oh, I know what it is. I think it's rotating too much between frame 110 and 115. I think the whole body is going through a little bit too much of a rotation change in the spine too quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select all of the controls in the spine again. Okay. We'll do the head next. Don't worry about the head right now. We'll do the head next. And I'm just going to grab all the rotate channels, show selected, and see what's going on. Well, I can tell just by looking at this, because there is a little bit of kind of like, you know, aberrant keys, that I'm just going to delete it and rebuild this pose to be what I want it to be. Just a little bit calmer. And I'm sure you can imagine that the definition of polishing is really going on right now. And by definition, I mean really like buffing stuff down. So we got to be careful when we're making a change like this, that we're not changing stuff so much that we lose the snappiness. All right. So the timing, that, you know, that down and then the vip, that pop up into that final pose, that needs to be preserved. Delete the wrong key. There it is. Okay. See now. See, that's interesting because now what it did is kind of just gave me this really weird spine pose. And I don't normally see this bottom spine controller. Here's the cog, it moves everything, but so does this one. Actually, the cog moves the hips as well. All right, so this one leaves behind the hips, but there shouldn't be too much rotation on this one, too much counter animation between the cog and this controller. So it's actually very low rotation right here. I'm actually just going to zero it between these two frames and kind of rebuild the rest of the pose that I am getting right now in the rest of the spine. This is all just so I can be just a little bit cleaner with my keys. Delete this one. And then let's get all these working together. And looks like I was basically in my blocking just going for kind of like an overlappy spine right here. Let's delete this key.
It ain't. Hear me? It ain't.
Okay. Now just bring back a little bit more of the flow.
It ain't.
All right, one more time.
It ain't.
Oh, that's much better. All right, I'm gonna take a break from that part just to fix the arc on the sword, and that will actually change a little bit of how we're feeling, like the impression that we're getting from the motion on the body in that section as well. Because the sword right now is too slow. If we fix it, that might change things. Okay. Sword too slow. Fast in on arc. One quick way to track this, if we just create a polysphere, stick it to the end of the sword, scale it down, okay, like this, and then let's just give it a bright material, like a surface shader. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ghost this, and it's kind of like motion trail, but you know, the thing with the motion trail is that you do get that automatic update, but you don't get as strong, or at least I don't feel like you get as strong a impression of the of the arc as you do when you like attach a surface shader and ghost it. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Animate, create ghost or ghost selected. Let's do it 4 frames in and out. See, there you go. All right, so you see this arc? It's kind of a mess, right? So let's just fix it. And I want this to kind of actually fast in. So we need to actually bring it a little bit together here. Nice and even. And then, okay, definitely need to do this on ones. It's going way too slow as well. So let's delete these. Actually, just move these keys up. Looks like we have plenty of room. Okay. So let's go back. Nice. Start spreading that out. Okay, let's watch that.
Gonna scare me. It ain't.
All right, we can unghost this. Just delete that.
Gonna scare me. It ain't.
Oh yeah! Oh, so sweet.
Me. It ain't. Me. It ain't.
All right. Now I do notice the hand does stick out a little bit right here. Bring it back to home. Oh, you know what that is? Huh. We're paying a little too close attention to the arc on the sword and not enough to where the new trajectory of the body is going. There we go.
It ain't.
Nice. Oh, so sweet. All right. I noticed that this hand is for some reason going to a flat out pose. Just make it nice. Give it a fist.
It ain't.
You don't like how this is going down like this so much? Looks like we're getting an Euler rotation here. Actually, don't even need these keys. I don't know why this rotation key is even on here. There we go.
It ain't.
Oh, so sweet. All right. And losing iris on 122. Okay. So let's go. Let's watch it all and see if we need to amp up the snappiness anywhere.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think posing as the, you think posing as, you think posing.
I think the sword could be a little bit snappier. Right here in this section. Where is it? Where it comes down. Let's just take one frame out and see what it looks like. One frame. That's all I'm doing. One frame.
Posing as, posing as, posing as the.
Yeah, that already looks better. Let's try 2 frames earlier. Again, just an experiment. Let's see what it looks like.
Posing as the.
I like it even better. Let's try 3. I don't know. That's a little bit crazy.
Posing.
No, it's too fast. Okay, so good experiment. Worked out for everybody involved.
Posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? As the devil, you think is going to.
All right. There's a little bit of knee pop right here, probably because there's some ranging going on in the legs. All right. So let's just bring this back so it's a little bit smoother. There we go. Just framing through there, just to get that nice smooth.
You think is going to. You think is going to scare. You think is going to.
Although I'm not sure why it's going down there. Let me just set a key right here.
You think it's going to scare me? You think it's going to scare me? It ain't. You think.
Okay. Now, of course, all I'm focusing on right now is just the original choices that I wanted to get into the shot. There's still a ton to do. This probably needs like one more afternoon of polish. I still see some knee pops. I still see some places where I want to smooth out the elbow pull vectors. You know, going from R to L. The knee pull vectors as well. All that kind of stuff. But I won't do that on cam for you. But I will show you. I will show you this when that is all finished. The one last thing that I do want to do is, well, let's continue taking one more look. I do think that I have all of the snappiness that I did want in there, but let's see snappy eyebrows. Okay, so there are still a few things that I do want to get in there. So let's actually grab these eyebrow controllers. They do have keys. Gonna do them kind of twinned right now, but just to show you what I'm trying to do here. Up again, right here. Just going kind of straight forward on this. It ain't, oops. So what I just did is I did a straightforward pass, but a lot of fundamentals, a lot of anticipation and overshoot on the eyebrows. What I find that it does is it gives your face kind of a fleshy feeling. Like if you're moving and the eyebrows are kind of doing that, it's really nice contrast to the snappiness in the body.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't.
You'll see that a little bit better in the play blast when I do it. I'm also going to do a nice kind of like floppy, overlappy beret. And I can do this straightforward. There's no problem with that. Show all.
As the devil.
All right, so check that out.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't.
Oop, a little bit of hitch on the end.
It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't.
Awesome. All right, now same thing with the collar. Super fast, straightforward pass on the collar. Actually, you know what? I wonder if I could just copy keys on this. Let's see what happens. Just see what happens.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't.
Okay, so I can't put the translate keys on. Translate is a little too wild, but it looks like the rotate works well.
You think posing as the devil, you think is going to scare me? It ain't.
Awesome. All right, well, that saved a lot of time. All right, cool. So let's look one last time and ask ourselves, like, what are the choices that we made? First thing I wanted to do was definitely gesture on, really hit that sharp timing of the word posing and next devil, but it was definitely posing. Really wanted to use the intonation of the delivery of that line to reinforce the snappiness that we want. So let's just look at it and objectively say, is it there?
You think posing?
I mean, I really do think it is. Obviously, good art is never finished, it's just released. I am excited to finish this shot up. I want to do, the tiny little things, toe splay, finger rolls, eye blinks, that kind of stuff. I'm very excited to do it, and obviously finish up the lip sync. I'm very happy with where it is in terms of the snappiness right now. Let's move on, and then with the devil, or as the devil.
As the devil.
Again, nice and snappy. Brings it up and snaps into that pose on the devil.
As the devil.
You think it's going to scare me? This is our textural moment. The sword wag is our textural moment. Let's check it out.
You think it's going to scare me?
It's good. It's pretty static in the body. It is a little floaty. I do need to work on that, but the wagging of the sword is coming across very nicely.
You think it's going to scare me?
Nice and textural, and it kind of breaks up the shot. And then the big action, the big laugh, into the zip into the it ain't, and hitting that with the intonation of the delivery of the line, making sure that it kind of just makes the whole rhythm come together, dialogue plus animation, into one snappy result.
It ain't. It ain't.
Oh, so cool.
It ain't.
His beret is a little out of control, but I like it. Let me play blast it, and just we'll use the play blast as our final look, and then we'll be done. Okay, so yeah, you should probably. I mean, my computer is fast enough. I know the recording is only 15 frames per second, but my computer is fast enough that I'm watching it in real time. For the most part, oops. Probably shouldn't show your curves, your NURBS curves. Let's just look at the character alone. But you should definitely be play blasting often if you're using a rig that you can't watch at speed. There's no replacement for watching it at speed. As you saw, I did an experiment and I was able to hit Alt-V and just watch it and see the result. There's no replacement for that. So please do that. All right, so let's watch it just a few more times.
You think posing as the devil, you think it's going to scare me? It ain't. You think posing as the devil, you think it's going to scare me? It ain't.
Awesome. All right, well, that was a lot of fun. Still to do on this, just the, you know, that last 1%, finish up the lip sync, that kind of thing. If you do want to see a good lip sync intensive, the lip sync lecture that is in the archive is great for that. I do recommend you check it out. But this has been a lot of fun, and I'm really happy to get some animation on this character. I'm excited to animate him in the future because he's the main character. He's the star of my short film, and I'm just so looking forward to making him come to life. So that will do it. Thanks again. Thanks so much for being here on the site. And please, if you have any ideas for lectures in the future, I am always open to them. There is a forum for that. It's called the Resource Wish List. It's in the forums. Just post your ideas there, and I have done, I think, like 4 already user-suggested lectures. So it's a great way to get huge value out of the site. It's basically, you know, your own personal tutorial. And I have a blast doing it. So thanks again for being a part of the site. Good luck with your animation, and as always, rock on.